Freaking out. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Trailblazers Season 5 Group 2 Champions Race, in which we see the top 5 drivers from the 3 splits that run our one-make Group 2 championship all compete to see who is the champion of champions. The format for this evening is a 10-minute qualifying session followed by a 13-lap race 1, which sets the grid for a 21-lap feature race final. Tyre compounds, no compulsory compounds for the first race. Medium tyre compounds is compulsory for at least 1 lap in race number 2. So we're supposed to have 15 on the grid. I believe we have 13 with us this evening. Who have we lost? We've lost Esmich, Toots and Mal. So 3 to 5 drivers from all 4 of the major Trailblazers community teams lining up this evening. And I think we're in for a hell of a race. Here with me in the box is Aussie Copite. How you doing, mate? Good evening. Welcome.
Thanks for having me along, Dan Zambi. It's certainly going to be a great race, and I think we're seeing some fantastic practice times, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen in quali, which I think is about to happen fairly soon.
Oh, it's going to be electric, isn't it? There's definitely some big names, which we'll run through now quickly. So from the top split, Benjamin Disco comes in as the champion. He's on screen at the moment. Champion of the top split from Turtle Racing. From the Reaper Raptors, Millsy comes in with a 2nd position in the top lobby. Also accompanied by Spanshouse in 3rd, Mad Mitch in 4th, and PJ Mack in 5th. That's the 5 drivers that have qualified from the red lobby. That's the top split.
They're going to be tough. And looking at Benjamin Disco's performance, he's had a win in every round, rather, culminating in the final round where he won both races. So he's going to be the man to beat.
He is very quick indeed, but definitely all 5 of those names very much potential race winners, definitely on the night. And even sliding down into lobby 2, we've got big names here as well, which will be relevant. From the Turtles, we have Crashy, who was the Split 2 champion. Kez Audio from Rotic Racing finished 2nd. Chompy from the EBM took the 3rd spot in the 2nd split. And Rick Reen, qualifying for this evening from tied 5th, comes in to fill the last spot from the middle lobby.
Yeah, that blue lobby really didn't have one dominant race the whole way through. It's a little bit closer, but racing against Crash, as I have in the past, no, there's definitely some quality in that lobby.
Very much, Crash can upset that top 5. Kez is very quick, we know that. Chompy's got a lot of pace on his day, and so does Rick. So
yeah, and Crash is so hard to overtake once he gets in front, so watch out if they let him go.
So that takes us down to lobby number 3, the green split. Timmy Turtle, the undisputed champion of split 3 with 995 points, annihilating the competition. From Turtle Racing, also from Turtle Racing, 5th in the bottom lobby as qualifying gets underway is Robo21. 2 EBM boys from split 3 came in 2nd and 3rd. That's Robo Sport and EBM Matty. And I believe MIA this evening from Reaper Raptors is Malevolent as well. So the drivers just getting things underway on their out laps for the start of a 10-minute qualifying session. And the slipstream, very important around here in these high downforce cars.
You're definitely right there. Looking at the green standings, in fact, the only points that Team Turtle dropped were in penalties, which, by the looks of it, might have been a race control penalty. So, yeah, he's been absolutely dominant. So, but that said, it may have been in his lobby qualifying that perhaps he lower. So he certainly was the class of that pack, wasn't he?
Absolutely. So there's a little bit of mind games and jostling for track position as they go out the start of their out laps, warming up their tyres, getting themselves into position. I'm just sharing some details on different social medias at the moment.
Yep, I can see Kez is really opening up some space in front of him to try and give himself some clear air. That can be quite important for a good quali run. While you do get a slipstream down the straights, it can certainly cause some understeer when you really don't want it when you're trying to set a fast time. So Kerr's showing his experience there, and it looks like also Robbo21 as well has left a bit of a gap. So Matty P as well. They're just leaving a little bit of space because they've worked out that they want to give themselves as clear a run and as clear a line and not have too much dirty air.
Yeah, you definitely find. I find myself as well when once you start, if you start a lap too close to the slipstream of someone in front of you, unless they really do have a pace advantage on you, then you pretty much, there's a high chance you're going to waste that quali lap because you're not going to get past them. But you'll catch them before the end of the lap, and it's almost wasted.
Yeah, this track is certainly very wide. It's of course an original circuit in GT Sport, but it is quite a wide circuit. So you'd hope that no one will be held up too much. As I'm trying to think of, there are a couple of bottlenecks, perhaps in a couple of the hairpins, but yeah, it is a nice flowing track to race.
And so many of these sectors are flat too, especially with these high downforce cars that we run in the Group 2 category. Sector 1, the end of Sector 1, I mean Turn 1 is almost a flat affair. The sector down the bottom through Miyabi, very little lifting after this technical section that we're seeing Millsy go through now. And it's definitely a train starting to form behind him. Consisting of a Spanier Matt, a Spanier Mitch, and a PJ.
Certainly, and Tim also lurking in the background there. You can see Rick has let Tim go a little bit. Of course, they're on their first flying lap, and we'll have to see. Perhaps we might see those ones that finish their first lap get into the pits, maybe refresh the tyres and go for another one, maybe to try and find that space again. It'd be interesting to see who tries to do more than one flying lap in a row on their tyres, and then those who actually go back to the pits to refresh and try again.
And a lot of pressure on those decisions because it is a very long lap.
I would say, in my experience, I probably prefer to try and do, if the track allows it, 2 flying laps in a row if I can. I just find that the rhythm is a little bit easier to keep, whereas if you stop, go back to the pits, change, you then kind of, it's a little bit disrupted coming out of the pits again. And of course, it is a wasted time because you've then got another non-flying lap to do.
Okay.
So it does put a lot of pressure on that second lap.
Very much. Here we are. They're coming across the line for the first lap. Millsy sets a 2:04.1. Spanny with a 2:02.9. Mad Mitch with a 2:02.8 takes provisional pole. Timmy Turtle with a 2:03.6 as he comes across the line at the end of his first lap. Rick Reen with a 2:05 flat. EBM Matty P with a 2:05.7 with a few more to come across the line. Robbo and Robbo both set 2:05s, half a second apart. Kez Audio gets just under that 2:05 mark with a 2:04.9. Crashy with a 2:07 flat. He's going to very much look to improve on his next lap. And Chompy with a 2:04.4. Runs out most of the top of the field. So Mitch, Spanny, Timmy, and Millsy in top 4 at the moment. Timmy definitely the surprise package based on seeding this evening. In that top 4.
I would say Millsy being 1.2 seconds off the lead. He'll be a little 1.6 now that Benjamin Disco has just done a 2:02.5 or 8. But yeah, knowing Millsy, he'll want to try and do a lot better because I know he does qualify very well. He'll be looking for a front row, and he'll be disappointed himself if he doesn't achieve that.
He's definitely got it in him. Absolutely.
Spanny too. Spanny has some real pace as well.
So we are on board with Chompy as he comes through the Miyabi section, which is at the southern end of the Kyoto Driving Park Yamigawa Miyabi complex. A fictional original circuit from the Gran Turismo series, got 6.8 kilometers with 20 turns.
I wonder if Millsy, like we spoke about the advantages of having that clear air and clear lines, but I wonder if perhaps Spanny behind him is a little bit of a distraction.
Oh, that definitely. Like there's a whole complex to go there when there's someone sitting right in your mirrors, right in your slipstream, because here he goes. Millsy sets a new personal best of 2:03.8.
He's improved by 3/10 there. But yeah, I would suspect that he may be benefited by perhaps allowing someone to pass. He
Well,
certainly
everyone
has
making the
time to go
dive
into pits, and he
to
has
the
gone into
pits.
pits there. I think he has.
Yep. Most of
Yep.
them making
So
the dive for fresh tyres now.
he can
They've
now
come out
trundle
on top
around.
of each other again. Look at this. Oh, that's brilliant. But this time, Spanny's in front. Can Millsy capitalise on that slip? Or will he want to get past before the next lap?
Yeah, Millsy this time can stick behind Spanny. Now the question is, does he feel that he's put off by Spanny's dirty air or slipstream, or is it worth just giving Spanny a bit of a lead to give himself some track space? It looks like he's staying pretty close, and perhaps he's trying to repay the favour to Spanny.
And something I definitely find when I'm being followed is half of my mind is on my rear bumper and whether or not they're going to hit it. And it can definitely be off-footing. It's very much obviously you try and tell yourself eyes forward, race your own race. Don't worry about them. If they hit you, it's their fault. But I mean, especially sometimes when something that extra kind of corner your eye on what's going on behind you can save you sometimes. So it can pay off, but other times it can be a major distraction.
Yeah, I think in quali, yeah, you've certainly got an onus to kind of keep an awareness of who might be around you and who might be potentially wanting to overtake, and that's probably why I keep my radar on. That said, in a perfect world, I'd probably just have my timing screen on because I'm probably happiest when I can see my sector splits. I'm not sure what view Millsy uses and what screens he's looking at for his quali, but as long as he can find that comfort, and he should do a brilliant time. But I can see Spanny's kind of getting caught in traffic at the moment too.
What's going on here? Yeah, Spenny, Kez, and Robbo are all going to come across together to start their final lap.
Yeah, you'd really want to back it
PJ
up a
moves
little
up
bit
into
into this
fourth
final corner.
with a 203.4. See if anybody else has improved as they all come across the line here. A lot of them on out laps.
They've gone for those fresh tyres. But yeah, you would have thought you might have seen some slower driving for them to try and open up some space, but they've kind of wanted to not. I think a lot of them made the decision to try and use that slipstream to try and get some free pace wherever possible.
Let's go back to Millsy now. Where's Millsy found himself? He's found his way past Spenny. I don't know where
Well,
or
sector
what.
sector one is 28 hundredths. Sorry, 28 thousandths faster than his first sector. But his lost time is sector 2 at the moment. Because at the moment, Millsy's running in 6th, and he won't be happy with that.
Very slight PB.
As long as you can go fast, you'd be happy with that.
So we are on the final hot lap of qualifying, the 10-minute session that determines the grid for a 13-lap race. No compulsory pit stop or tyre changes, all compounds available. Most cars we will see obviously all run the soft compound. The question is whether or not we will see a pit stop squeezed in the middle there. It tends to depend week to week on the pit delta and the tyre wear factor. With the tyres and fuel deterioration both set to ×3 as a standard, you do see some circuits demand a lot more from the tyres and the fuel tank than others, and then which results in some races becoming a one-stop, and some races where the one-stop and the no-stop are very, very close. And now we flick all around the pack. Who's coming across the line? I can't find anyone that's coming across the line. But they don't improve.
Across the line.
Oh, my camera's gone mental. What are you doing? Calm it down. Right,
And
so
so
Millsy has... Carry on.
Oh, sorry, yes, Millsy just said a 203.772. He's still in 6th, so he wasn't enough to kind of progress himself up the grid. Just seeing any real movers and shakers. And
Spanny's put himself second on the grid, 202.6.
And Robbo has increased, but unfortunately looks like he's going to be towards the back as well. EBM Matty is... Where has he gone? He's in 12th, so he'll also be...
on his final lap.
Back.
Fantastic.
So there's a spread of under 3.5 seconds between 1 and 13. But looking at that grid, 1 second covers the top 4.
This is going to be unreal. Right. Quick at the chat. Brandoza, Bosnian Barui, what's up, boys? Go EBM. Get in the chat. And here we are for race number 1 of the Champions Final at the Kyoto Driving Park. Disco and Spanny on the front line from Mad Mitch, PJ, Timmy Turtle, Millsy, Crash, and Chompy. That's your top 8. I won't get camera control, I think, until a certain point. So we're just going to do the best we can. Oh, no, we're going to flick back. No, I can't change it. Right. On the front row, Disco and Spanny. Who's going to get the better start? They're both away. Spanny... Disco's spinning his tyres as they all go into single file straight away up the front, trying to make the most of the first corner. Bunching up all together, Millsy around, Chompy up the inside line, Mitch and Crash. Mitch and Turtle side by side, the 2 Turtle boys. They all fly down the back straight for the first time. Flat out, trying to sort themselves out and settle down into some kind of orderly line. So that they don't lose the front too quickly. 2 wide as they all approach the big wide sweeping turn at the start of Sector 2.
And we're already seeing almost a second of Spanny over Bad Mitch in third. This is always a tricky little spot.
Brilliant corner with everyone going around 2 wide. Fantastic there as Chompy and Crash side by side. PJ and Mitch side by side as well on the exit of that little sector. PJ loses around the outside to Mitch. Side by side with Timmy Turtle. Still side by side as they go around that long sweeping left-hander again. Someone's going to have to back it now. PJ's got the inside line. Timmy's going to go deep and try the cutback. PJ claims that apex.
There's still quite a bunch there. The careful thing, the pack, the gaggle from third back, is they don't want to take too much time off each other as Benjamin Disco and Spanhouse disappear up the road.
That's it. Third from 8th all bunched up together, yeah.
Yeah, already there's coming up to 2 second lead at the end of the first lap, and
Millsy makes a mistake. Contact. It looks like a racing incident to me, but the stewards will make their own mind up on that one as we go to the front of the pack, and Disco leads at the end of lap 1 from Spanhouse. Then a big gap, 2 second gap back to Mad Mitch, PJ, Timmy Turtle, and Millsy comes in at the end of lap 1 to repair that damage. Unfortunate, so he's got a big job on his hands now to prepare himself for the final race.
And just looking at so we got Tim Turtle from the lowest lobby in that top 5, so he's doing quite well. And it'll be Chompy is in from the middle lobby. He's bringing up in 6th. Then we have quite a decent gap back to Crash as well, where he leads Robbo and Frick. And Millsy is at the back, is in 11th, obviously suffering. He doesn't seem to have picked up any damage. I can't remember. It was damage on light or on heavy on this one. It'd be on heavy, isn't it?
Probably on heavy. He did sneak into the pits. He did duck into the pits there in all that chaos.
Oh, he did, through. Yeah. Okay. I did miss that. But yeah, unfortunately, there's no rewind available to me at this stage. So. That would make sense. I know that with the Group 3, they did experiment with some light damage for the longer tracks, but yeah, of course, there was no such plans for the Group 2 single make series.
Spanny now. 1 second the gap between Disco and Spanny.
Yeah, he'll want to close that. Although at the same time, he may want to just settle in behind Benjamin Disco and just conserve tyres and fuel. Knowing this track, once your tyres go off, but due to the hairpins in here, your life can be very miserable once your tyres do go off. So he may be content just keeping Benjamin within a second and a half. Doesn't look like he's struggling at this point. And he may be hoping for the long game, and perhaps he might be able to get an extra lap out of his tyres and do the overcut on Benjamin Disco.
Very tricky, fast chicane, very fast entry. That second last corner before the final hairpin. Seeing a lot of drivers get chewed up and spat out by the sudden direction change and just the sheer velocity in which you come into that corner.
Something must have happened to Kez as well, because he's sat behind Millsy in 12th. Kez normally has a pretty good pace, so I'd be interested to see what happened to him. You didn't happen to pick it up at all, did you,
Oh,
Ben?
I missed that as well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the front two 8/10 apart. Benjamin Disco from Span's House 2 seconds back to Mad Mitch, 1.5 seconds back to PJ. Timmy Turtle 6/10 off of PJ. Chompy in 6th position. Crashy 9 seconds off the lead in 7th. RoboSport 10 seconds off the lead in 8th position. That's your top 8 in the 3rd lap of the Champions Race. Race 1 of 2.
Spence House says he was running a second behind. He seems to have stabilised that gap, so perhaps, yeah, he might be just happy there. And it looks like Mad Mitch has kind of stemmed the bleeding at 2 seconds. Of course, it looks like he's put some space into PJ Max, so he doesn't have that pressure in his mirrors or on his radar at the moment, so he can just concentrate on doing his best laps. Maybe not quali laps, because he's got to think about his tyres and fuel, but yeah, Mad Mitch is in a good position at the moment. That said, I think he's run deep and lost 2/10 off Spanny.
Crash under a lot of pressure from Robbo as they come through Sector 5 up the hill. Right in his mirrors, giving Crash a lot to think about. He's been showing his nose at the last previous 2 corners. And a big gap building in front of Crash to Chompy as well. 3.8 seconds now. Is Crash more concerned on defending that position and just letting Chompy get away?
Yeah, Robbo's got to be smart about this. He doesn't want to do anything silly that then suddenly means that he ends up costing his position to Rick as well. Because when you think about it, Rick is actually only 6/10 behind, while Robbo's 1.1 behind Crash. So yeah, it's looks like Robbo's almost falling back into the clutches of Rick, and hopefully they do look after their tyres. I'm just cycling through and just seeing who's probably got the most tyre wear, and PJ Mack at the moment, along with Tim Turl and Chompy, probably. And Crash's tyre wear is also quite, at this early stage, heavier compared to the other runners. So when you look after your tyres, you've got to look after them from early on. You can't just decide 5-6 laps into it that I meant to look after them. So hopefully they can think of that tyre preservation going forward.
As we spoke, Millsy made a move in Sector 1 between Turn 1 and Turn 2 to put himself into 10th position. Spanny has closed the gap now to 5/10 on Disco.
Wow, he has closed that gap out, hasn't he? And he's also put time into Mad Mitch, so it doesn't look like Benjamin or Mad Mitch have made an error, but Spanny's just obviously, I don't know whether maybe he's turned his fuel up. Perhaps he might have been in fuel conservation at that stage.
Well, he's definitely switched on into party mode, whether or not those tyres have come to life or he's just in the zone, as it's now 3.5 to Disco, right on his tail, giving Disco a lot to think about. Gaining under braking. Go.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I was just wondering, how many laps do you think they'll get out of a tank before they have to come in? Because I think at this stage the tyre wear looks like it looks like the fuel's going to wear out before the tyres do, which is always a nice situation.
I don't have eyes on the gauges, so I don't have that shown at the moment, so I don't know.
Oh no, that's all right.
Oh,
yeah,
a bit of a slow exit on the final turn from Spanny, but he stays in the slip, stays in the toe, stays relevant.
Oh wow, and he's just set a purple there with a 203.744. So he'll be happy with that.
Will this be a case of who blinks first now? Is Spanny going to look to do the job early, get past and get away? He's going to sit behind Disco, and is one of them going to take a pit stop, and then the other one's going to have to either respond or adapt their driving strategy to let their tyres go the long way. But if we are thinking the fuel will go before the tyres, which may force the one stop. Spanny now right behind Disco. This is fantastic.
It's quite notable actually. The top two, you can't see it, but the top two, their tyre wear is immaculate at the moment. They're really
looks up the inside, shows his nose. Right.
No, that's right. But yeah, when they go for these dives, when they try the late braking, that's where if you've got some nice rubber still in those tyres, you'll be very grateful for that. But boy, yeah, Benjamin's Disco's mirrors will be full of nothing but spanning at the moment.
It's unreal. We're going to have a quick flick back through the field. Mitch is on his own. Timmy Turtle right on the tail of PJ. So we've got a battle for first and second and a battle for third and fourth. Flick back forward, Spanny. Thought he just got a bit taily there, but we just came back and it's 4/10 the gap. PJ,
I did
Timmy
hit the spool
Turtle,
of the tyres then.
Chompy in 6th. Crash, a little bit of a gap to Millsy. Milsy's made his way up into 8th position now from the rear of the grid after that mistake on lap 1. Spanny.
And I think Spanny's on course for another purple lap. Oh, he's gone a bit wide there.
That's cost him about 3/10. But a much better entry into the final turn. Who's going to nail the exit? He's closer than he was last lap. Is he close enough to make the move and get the job done here? I don't quite think so, but we're going to find out. Oh, gaining.
He certainly cost himself that purple lap then with that exit onto the second last turn.
Exactly, that would have given him the overtake too. It cost him 3/10. He was 3/10 behind at the end of the straight.
Yeah, I suppose the question is, do you want to be at the front? There is sometimes the pressure's off if you're second, if you're doing the chasing.
Very much.
Depending on the mentality of the driver. So, yeah, if you can sit behind and if you're comfortable with the pace of the car in front, you can save that petrol, save those tyres, and hopefully make those savings that really the person first may not be able to be in a position to do so, because they may be concerned that if they start short shifting or turning down their fuel mode, that it could cost them. Whereas if you're in second, you can just happily just follow and hopefully pass them in the pits.
And you could, if you're in the lead, it's very possible that you're going to have no idea what they're doing, because you're not going to know is it my pace keeping them behind me, or are they just sitting and waiting, or that's when certain tells really start to come into play of just noticing a couple of little things with split times and stuff like that might just give you that bit of information that, oh, hang on, this guy behind me is trying to save more fuel. So then maybe you give up the first position, put him under pressure, and see what he does in response.
Like I know around Spa last week in the Group 3, sitting behind first position, there was the second position was able to run their tyres for 8-9 laps, whereas first position only ran them for 5 or 6 before they dropped off a cliff. So, yeah. But
now he's going to look to the inside, spanning at the end of the final turn. He gets the job done, brakes late, claims the apex. Is he going to have the better exit? Disco 3/10 behind as they run into the start-finish straight at the end of lap 6. I'm going to go on board with Disco now. Oh, no, we're not, because my controller's going to have a spaz. No, stop it.
Mine won't let me either.
There we go.
Spanish put 7/10 into Disco. And looking at that tyre where he has got more rubber to play with than Disco at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if Disco realises he's hemorrhaging too much time. He has to make a pit stop. We're close to halfway. I wouldn't be surprised if Benjamin jumps in, especially if Spanny stays out.
Well, this is it. This is the middle lap of the race. So if anyone was going to go early, which I would have, if I was going to pit, I would have gone 6-7 instead of 7-6. But then it depends on what the traffic is like behind you. Getting onto that fresher set of tyres that one lap earlier can make a massive difference.
Yeah, and I can see that Crash is really hurting with his tyres at the moment, and he seems to be he's in the clutch.
3-car party here. As who we got? Chompy, Crash, and Millsy.
Yeah, now
behind
Crash's
Millsy looks
front
like the
right
inside
is really
of Chompy. This is a flat section, so they're going to go 2x2. A little bit of panel beating there as they fly through. Absolutely flat this sector. And Millsy's got the inside line for the big sweeping left-hander. Number of those on this track. 3 of them, in fact, I believe. Millsy seems to have got the job done as they come down to the exit of Miyabi. But Chompy looks to the inside, shows his nose. Millsy shuts the door, claims the apex. And that might be the job done as Millsy carries on down the road in pursuit of Crash. Cowboy.
No worries. And yeah, I can see Kez is pitted. He's got a fresh set of boots on. As Spenny comes around the final turn, what is he going to do? Is he going to pit, or because that would cover off Benjamin, because he has better tyres at the moment. And he stayed out, and Benjamin goes into the pits for new rubber and got the if he
Oh,
needs to refuel. He's got
very
fresh tyres and a
interesting. Well,
lighter car.
he's come in with 50%. Yeah, so he's going to make it.
Yeah, we
Everybody
got PJ
else
Mack, Matt Mitch,
close.
Tim Turtle, all in the pits as well.
With a bit of a
And
splash for most drivers. But Disco didn't take any. He came in on 50% and stayed there.
I would argue Turtle's overfueled there. He's actually he's got 70% in. For yeah, I think that was a tactical mistake for Tim. He's basically given up free time to Millsy behind him, and
I
he's now
think
got
Crashy
additional weight.
may have overfilled as well from what I saw. Looked like there was about
Yeah,
70
yeah
in the
his
tank on his way out.
yeah his gauge is showing that he's almost at 3/4. Yeah, I really would have thought that you could kind of do this on one tank, or maybe just a single lap's worth of fuel. But yeah, I don't know
Tyre
about that. I
decision
think
must
that's
have
a
been, it
mistake.
must be the tyre decision. Surely, because most of them were in the high 40s at the end of that lap,
Yes.
which means they probably could have made it on fuel.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the only ones who haven't pitted is Spanhouse. He's the only one who doesn't have fresh tyres on. So Benjamin Disco trying to get the undercut there. So he'll be hoping to pass Spanny in the pits. Hopefully with a fresh set, because of course with 3 times tyre wear, that's equivalent of Spanny staying out for an additional 3 laps. So yeah, I thought it was a bit of a tactical mistake by Spanny to not come in when he did. Because yeah, he just basically asked Benjamin to give the undercut. But hey, if he
We're about
wins,
to find out if he
all's at the
stays.
top.
Oh
Yeah.
no! Crashy's just lost his rear end and put it into the wall, chasing
Oh,
Chompy. Big drama
I'm just
there, as we're going to see now if Spanny comes in. Spanny does come in to cover off Disco. I think he's definitely lost time this lap.
he has, hasn't he?
So
But he
Disco,
will have fresher
Spanny,
tyres.
Disco, where are they going to come out? Disco, comfortably in front of Span's house.
Yeah, 2 seconds lead on there.
And
You see the
building.
value of the undercut there, don't you, Dan?
Massive, absolutely massive, that is. Don't know if Spanny
That's
made a
amazing.
minor mistake or if that just is absolutely brutal tyre wear. He left the pit stop at least one lap later than he had to if he was going to split the race in two on tyres.
Yeah, now I can see Crash has got engine damage. He's got his hazards on at the moment, so he's heading towards the pits at the moment. Yeah, you can see. I think the thing that made the undercut a whole lot worse for Span's house is just the length of this track. Because we're looking at 2 minute laps, it is on the longer side. It's out towards like the Spa Frapper Shop kind of distance. If it was a minute, if it was a minute and a half or a minute and a quarter, then perhaps you can see there's an argument to hold on for another lap. But yeah, I think Spanny's made a bit of a tactical error. That said, he does have fresher tyres. They are, while they're a single lap, like I said before, they are 3 laps fresher than Benjamin. So
We may
uh,
definitely see that pay off to fruition at the end of the circuit, but definitely agree with what you mean. The longer circuit, the more time back, the longer it takes to get around, the more rubber you leave on the track every lap.
the other thing also is that when Spanny overtook Benjamin earlier on, he had markedly better rubber than Benjamin. It was quite obvious in the gauges. So if Spanny's naturally got a similar speed to Benjamin and can bring him back, and he may be able to just pick him off right on, maybe even on that final lap, just because of his he seems to have better tyre preservation than Benjamin. He has brought that back to 1.8 currently.
He is working on it. Chompy trying to close the gap on Rob after furthering his pit stop. 6.5 tenths there. That's the battle for 8th position. Going to go forward through the field now. Rick Green in 6th. 7th. Millsy worked his way back up to 6th position, 2 seconds behind Timmy Turtle. So the job's not done yet, but he's definitely put in a very solid recovery drive, and puts himself in a relevant position for the final feature race. Timmy Turtle 5 seconds off the pace of PJ Mack. Has PJ pit?
Yes, he
That's
did.
a
Yes,
question,
he
yep.
came in with Tim Turtle and Mitch at the same time.
So we've seen them
but
all pit.
yeah, they followed Disco in. Yeah, so all stage.
Fantastic. Mad Mitch, 4.3 off second position. He's having a jolly old race of his own in clear space today. Spanny, 1.8 behind, so still working on closing that gap. 1.7, reeling it in. Disco's tyres will start to fade away compared to Spanny's over the next 3.5 laps. 3.5 laps remain in race 1 of the Group 2 Season 5 Champions Race. The top split champion Disco leads the field on lap 10, followed by Spanshouse from Road 6 Racing.
Yeah, we can see also Matty P is just sitting on the tail of Kez at the moment. For some reason, I can't get the in-car view at the moment.
You got to exit and then go back in.
Okay, but yeah, but I can see Matty P's hanging with Kez and doing a decent showing for himself. And then further up, we've got Chompy. He seems to be pretty comfortable with Rob behind him. But yeah, there's a few where they're in their own little bit of space, and I suppose for them it's they're hoping just to keep it neat and hoping for
very late on the brakes. Matty P almost contact there with Kez, I believe. Kez luckily kept it inside. Matty P went flying down the outside and still managed to keep it within 3/10.
I'm just looking at Benjamin Disco's holding that 2 second lead over Spanshouse at the moment. So he's looking pretty comfortable. Just have to see how many matches he's burning towards the end. But you know what? We're in with 3 laps to go. So we're in the third last lap. I can't see Spanny closing it up at this stage. He seems to be losing time lap on lap at the moment. So you have to say well played by Benjamin Disco at this stage.
Absolutely, but it's not over until it's over. I didn't want to say anything too cliche there, so I just came up with nothing, which is even more applaudable, isn't it? Terrible. Benjamin Disco 2.3 ahead of Spanny. Does he have the pace to close that gap? Tyre wear will begin to become a factor shortly. It's a shame we don't have a button that says rain. That would be great.
If put on the sprinklers. I would be a touch of the commentator's curse if this happens to Benjamin. But at this stage, he's 2.4 ahead, 2.5 over Spanny, so he's looking quite comfortable.
That's what modern racing needs, though. It needs sprinklers and under-track heating that go off at random. So you see Robbo turn wide into the second turn in the Miyabi sector, and Crashy closing the gap behind him. This is a battle for 12th. A reminder, the results from race 1 set the grid for the feature race, which is 21 laps around this magnificent circuit, with a mandatory use of the medium compound for at least one lap.
And Benjamin's got instead of purple with the 203 dead. So he's done 3 203s in a row, none over 203.2. So he's looking very comfortable. Spanny on the other hand he's done a good 203, but then there's also a 203.6 and a 205.7. So not quite as tidy, unfortunately.
Robbo with a good run into the final turn. He's going to show his nose up the inside of Matty P and think better of it as they go around the final turn. He goes very deep. Another 2 coming around. Robbo and Crash. Crash hot on the heels of Robbo. He'll be looking to make the move down the straight with the slipstream. 2/10. Keep an eye on this. He should tuck out before they get to turn 1. Here he goes now.
And that's respectful driving there from Robbo Sport, giving Crash space. That's what we want to see. Nice clean racing with Trailblazers.
got the job done, but he's still right on his tail. Those 2/10. There's another battle up in front of us between Rob and Matty P. You're going to watch these two come around. Turn 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah, lose count after the first three for me, unfortunately, there, Dan.
It's not one that I haven't learnt on this one. I have it written on the back of my hand. Right, back through the...
And
oh,
Robbo 21 has just gone off, and he is now at risk of crash, catching him. That said, it's still 3.5 seconds ahead, it looks like, so it hasn't been too expensive. Looks like Robbo keeps bumping his headlight flasher, so I'm not sure what's happening there.
That'd be his control mapping, it'd be on his stick. Get back to the... There we go, Span's house. We are on board with Spanny. He's got to close the gap. It's the final lap of race 1. It's a 2-second gap as they fly
just
up the hill flat into the end of sector 1.
Sorry about that. And yes, Spanny has he pulled back in Benjamin by 0.4 or 0.4 of a second there. But yeah, unless Benjamin makes an error here, it's too little, too late.
Flying down the hill, very steep, very late on the brakes as well. Cuts it back in, hits the apex, straight lines the exit, and you're going to flick it back left again for a second hairpin into the Miyabi sector. Now flat left, flat right, and then a big sweeping left. 1.6 pressure building.
Yeah, I can see it's at 1.7. Yeah, it looks like Benjamin's kind of almost just trying to just do a tidy lap rather than push the same times as he has before. But he will certainly be aware of Spanny being behind him.
This is unreal vision on board with Spanny though, absolutely throwing the car around, using the full width of the road, straight lining those apexes, trying to do everything he can to close that gap, still floating around at 1.6, 1.7, with 3 corners to go at the end of the first race. Through that fast chicane. 1.5 to gap, 1.4. Perhaps one more lap. And he may have had it. 1 second to gap, 1.2. The winner, ladies and gentlemen, of your first race of the Group 2 final series, the champions, Benjamin Disco takes the checkered flag, followed by Spanshouse in second. Mad Mitch looks like he's going to come across the line in third, 8 seconds off the lead. PJ Mack, strong representation there from Road Sick Racing, is going to cross the line in fourth position. Timmy Turtle and Millsy, fifth and sixth. That's the Mad Turtle Racing and Reaper Raptors coming over across the line in sixth position. Millsy, great recovery drive, keeps himself relevant for the second race. It's a longer race. Unfortunately, with that mistake early, gave him a lot to do. So
yeah, at the moment we're just seeing Robbo trying to put pressure on Crash in these final couple of corners. So if Crash can keep it tidy, then he'll take 11th. Probably not where Crash would have wanted to finish at the start of this race, but still respectable. Keep in mind he did pick up engine damage partway through the race, but a commanding drive by Benjamin Disco. I just, as we said before, I think Spanhouse made a bit of an error there with his strategy, and hopefully he learns.
A lap too long, yeah. Lap too long. But fantastic race there as Rick Green took 7th, Chompy in 8th, Kez Audio in 9th position, Rob 21 in 10th, Crashy in 11th, and now up. Congratulations, Pole, the fastest lap in the clean race. Your split 1 champion and race 1 winner, Benjamin Disco from Mad Turtle Racing. That was brilliant.
Certainly was there, Dan. And good commentary by yourself, and yeah, we certainly saw some fantastic driving. And yeah, they'll take this little break of 10 minutes just to kind of maybe think what they could have done differently, and also work out how long they want to spend on those mediums.
Absolutely, it's a little bit of a change up in strategy now. So we're going to see 21 laps. So we may see the drivers push the tyres that little bit longer or cut a couple of laps off of their stints to really reap the benefits of fresh tyres and sneak a set of mediums in for one lap or so, depending on the circuit, depending on the pit deltas, depending on how slow the tyres are. It can be more beneficial for yourself, if not, sounds a bit strange, to run the medium tyre, the harder compound, just for one lap, and then get back off and get back onto those soft tyres.
Yeah, it really depends on the the lap time loss from medium to soft, and you may see some actually just chuck a medium on mid race while the car is light. Um, some choose to just do it the first lap to get it out of the way. If you run it at the last time, that can be a little bit risky because you don't want to be under pressure then going into the pits
Mm.
against someone who doesn't need
Very,
to.
definitely a lot of so many varieties of strategies. As you definitely, there are things to reap the rewards of, and but also things that can bite you in the ass. So, depending on which strategy you choose, if you decide to go, say, 2 stints on softs and then one lap on mediums, where you put that one lap can make or break your race. If you're mid pack and you sneak that one lap in at the start of the race, you should then be far enough behind with a gap in front of you to capitalize on being out of traffic. Whereas if you pit
Takes the pressure off too.
very much, but if you do pit early from the mediums onto the softs and you come back out in traffic, then hell to pay. You're going to lose time hand over fist. Whereas like I tend to gravitate to a double soft and then a short medium at the end, just to get as far away from as much traffic as I possibly can before I put that second stop in. Try and extend that
Yeah,
first stint on the softs an extra lap or two. Then come in on the fresh softs, and then just sneak it in at the end. Because then by that time, you're only having to contend usually with 2 or 3 cars instead of 16.
I know what you mean. I was racing at St. Croix a couple of weeks ago, and I was running a similar strategy to yourself, Dan. My plan was to do 2 soft stints and then a medium right at the end. And I came at the end of the first stint and selected softs, and then I ended up with a glitch where it only put 3.5 laps of fuel in. So while you
Shit.
shouldn't have to plan around potential GTS glitches, sometimes just maybe doing it sooner rather than later just takes that pressure off.
Mm. Oh, that's something else to consider too. A lot of drivers we see run the medium tyre first, and as much as this is a very, very clean community, very clean lobbies, things go wrong on lap one very often. So if you've already got your medium compound on, you take damage on lap one from an incident, you can get straight off those mediums instead of wasting that extra set of soft tyres and going
Yeah,
from soft to
absolutely.
soft. So that you can turn an incident into your favour. Well, lighten the load of the damage anyway. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to leave you by yourself for a second. Have a cheeky little cigarette,
That's right.
and we'll be back for race two. If it starts without me, you're all on your own. Good luck, mate. Race two of the season 5 Group 2 Champions race, which is a 21 lap race, brought to you by EBM Braking and Mechanical and Scorched Media. We'll be back.
Thanks, Dan. See you then.
We are back. Rightio. Get ready for race number 2 of season 5 of the Group 2 Champions Series, Champions Final, where we take the top 5 drivers from all 3 splits of our Tuesday night one-make competition and put them all together to see who is the fastest, the champion of champions. Race number 1, taken by Benjamin Disco from Mad Turtle Racing. That'll put him on pole position for the second race. So the grid, as you see it, the grid for the second race will be the results from race 1. Reminder, this is a 21 lap feature race. Medium compound tyres are mandatory for a minimum of 1 lap. You do have free choice whether you start on the mediums or you start on the softs. Drivers will be measuring up their strategies.
At this early stage, and welcome back, Dan. I'm just seeing that Benjamin is on his mediums at the moment, so I would suggest he's probably going to start on them. So hopefully Spanny's watching that. And I see Chompy, who's in the pits. He has his mediums fitted, so they're our 2 likely, at least initial starters on mediums.
Yes,
So you have to watch out that strategy at the start, because if you're starting on softs and someone else is starting mediums, you want to be gaining time on them from the start.
Very
You need to start
much
putting
so.
that time in the bank.
And it's very early on mediums is where we can see some drivers really capitalize early in the race, because the rest of the grid is running at a slower pace, and you can, if you can put your car in the right positions, you can basically nullify the fact you ran mediums for everyone that's behind you by the time you come in.
You certainly, if you can sit in the, if you run mediums at the start and can sit in the traffic and not lose too much time, not lose time to the pack, and then get off them, then job done. What you don't want to do is get on the mediums and see everyone disappear up the road. So as long as you can sit in the slipstream and not cost too much time in those corners, because you're not going to lose too much on the straights. But yeah, it's all about minimizing the damage while on those mediums.
Especially these 3 long left-handers, you're going to feel those on the mediums. You're definitely going to feel the grip difference between the softs and the mediums, throwing it in at 250 kilometers an hour.
And even accelerating out the hairpins too, because some of these hairpins are quite. Really, you're down to first gear, maybe bottom of the second. But yeah, again, those mediums can really hurt you because you just don't get the same bite as you do in the softs.
And that straight line braking distance is gone a bit too. So especially some of the sectors where you're hitting a braking zone in that 250 to 300 kilometer an hour range, you're going to have an extra 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meters of braking distance just from the changing compounds. Something else to note as well, you do often see, so this little interlude in between is obviously a great opportunity for drivers to at least get some experience in with the mediums before they hit the track. You do see some mind games here, because many of the drivers are keeping an eye on which tires, which drivers are running in practice. But we are already seeing some drivers now changing tires in the minute once they've received the 1 minute warning.
Absolutely, I was racing at Spa last Friday, and I was starting from pole, and I was ready to go on softs, and I saw that the person in second was switched to the medium, so I immediately switched as well, just to try and nullify any sort of strategic advantage they might get.
Mind games.
So yeah, when you said about some drivers watching each other, I thought you were talking to me directly for a moment there, Dan.
This is a quick reminder of the grid. So the grid will be Disco, Spanny, Mitch, PJ, Timmy Turtle, Jay Millsy, Rick Green, Chompy, Kez, Rob, Crash, Robbo, and Matty P. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That top 6 looks unreal. Rick with a great drive to put himself in 7th, Chompy in 8th. This is going to be a banger. What are we going to see on the strategy-wise?
Yeah. So we have 11 ticked in. So who are we still waiting for at the moment?
Crashy and Millsy. Millsy's the
Okay.
host, so he'll sort that out soon. Tony Bryan, what's up? Go Road Sick. How you doing, mate? Wayne Fraser in the chat. Let's go Trail Boys. How you doing, Wayne? So
It's
just
great to see the support.
absolutely fantastic. Everybody, feed that algorithm. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Be an active consumer as we wait for lights for the final, the feature race of the Season 5 Group 2 Champions race in Trailblazers.
Now I'm noticing we were talking about line games before. Benjamin Disco's back on the softs currently in the pits.
There we go.
The only one on the mediums at the moment is Chompy.
Let's turn this on so we can see. PJ's on the softs, Robbo, Maddie, softs. Yep, Chumpy's the only one that's on the mediums at the moment. Thanks, Wayne. Appreciate it, mate. I'm having a blast.
Thanks, Wayne. He's too kind, isn't he?
Oh no, this is all. I'm genuinely having a. This is so much fun. This is great. This is one of the best commentary experiences I've had. You're a great co-commentator. This is pleasant as fuck. And there is the demonetize.
I can see Robbo's on the mediums as well now. Watching them carefully at the moment. I'm just patrolling the pit lane like a certain Martin Brundle at the moment, and just to see what colour they're shod with.
Ted, it's Ted. Ted's
Sorry,
pit
Ted
walk.
Kravitz, you're right. It is Ted, isn't
Ted. What do you got for us down in the pit lane, Ted?
it? Well, I'm on the roof of the pit garages, and it's starting to rain.
If only rain would be a blessing from the racing gods. The final will begin in 5 seconds. Here we go. Strap yourselves in.
Now your job is to say lights out, and away we go.
We go. And we go green into Tokyo. Kyoto. That's the Formula Ego, right? And we go green.
Yep.
So the final 21 laps, Benjamin Disco and Spanny on the front row, Mad Mitch and PJ on the second row, Timmy Turtle, Jay Millsy complete row number 3, Chompy and Kez, your top 8, very solid top 8 going into the final. What are we going to see? We're going to see a red flag.
Yep, that's
I think
looking good, is it?
Maybe the grid was out? I don't know.
Not quite sure
Yeah,
what
I
happened there.
think the
Everyone's
grid was
doing
out.
Christmas
Rick
Day.
was out of position,
Ah,
I believe. So red flag there. As we prepare and wait for lights again.
now. Yep, so Chompy and Robber are still in the medium, so I'm just see if anyone takes that opportunity
Last
after
minute
having
change.
seen people tip their hands. Yep, last minute change. Yeah, so I was thinking of Martin before because, of course, during the practice sessions, he likes to go and walk out on the turns and sit with the marshals for
Yeah.
watching practice. So, but yes, it doesn't look like anyone's done any changes at the moment. And you know what? To be in the champions race, you got to know your own mind, don't you? You got to know what you want from a race. These guys generally they're at the top because not only are they excellent drivers, but their strategy is very good.
Absolutely, you've got to be reactive too. Unless you either have to put in that time. If you have the luxury of time, you have the luxury of data. But a lot of the drivers, obviously, a lot of us have day jobs. A lot of us have a lot going on. So a lot of drivers get into these lobbies very late and don't have a lot of time to put practice together and are taking a lot of their strategy data from their first race and are having to manipulate that and formulate a perfect plan for race 2. Which we all know you've got to you very often you have to have a plan C, a plan B, and a plan C because things can go wrong.
Going into season 6 next season, do you think we'll see a drop off from the Melbourne drivers, given they have less time
Who
at home
knows? I mean, I'll be moving back down at some point and going back to work and back to uni, but that's probably not till next year. Oh, I'm not on the circuit. Oh no, I can't press the button. It's okay. I'll get straight in as soon as it starts. So here we go for the final. Waiting
Do you need me to
for
call the
lights.
start?
We're in. We're good. Disco on pole position. He's going to lead us away for 21 laps. Spanny on the inside lane. Can we get a good review? Yeah, we can. Let's go on board from like 4th. No. Gotta have the view of the grid coming down like this. And it's lights out and away we go for the Champions Race final here at Kyoto. Benjamin Disco leads Spanny. Spanny moves across straight away. PJ's looking up the inside. There's chaos in the back of the pack. All sorts of contact. 1, 2, 3 cars, 4 cars involved as the rest of the pack gets away. Disco from PJ from Spanny. PJ's done Span's house on turn 1. Millsy's already up into 4th position with Mitch hot on his heels. Chompy's improved up into 6th position as well.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we've got Robbo21 with engine damage, Rick Green with engine damage, Tim Turtle with rear aero damage, Robbo Sport with engine damage, and obviously everyone else has aero damage as well in that group that I just mentioned. Kez has front aero damage.
Spanny goes down the outside of PJ into the entry into Miyabi, goes back up into 2nd position. PJ Mack in 3rd, Millsy in 4th. They're bumper to bumper, they're too wide. Millsy shows his bumper to the outside, cuts back inside to PJ as they fly through Miyabi, the flat section, the flat left, the flat right. Disco still in the lead, half a second over Spanny, a gap forming between 2nd and 3rd. PJ in 3rd position, closely followed by Millsy. Millsy looks to go around the outside, nothing doing there. Mad Mitch hovering in the background, extremely relevant. Chompy in 6th position, Kez in 7th, Matty P in 8th. That's your top 8. As Millsy under a lot of pressure from Mitch as they exit the Miyabi section. Bumper to bumper stuff. What are you seeing out there, Aussie?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of damage there, and I just for those viewing at home who might be wondering why another red flag wasn't called, because of course 2 red flags can be called for a race. However, this wasn't because of a technical glitch. This was because of let's just say a poor start by a couple of drivers and others who perhaps didn't see it coming, and so that's why they had to kind of wear the damage and make it to the pits as soon as they can. The lead of which with the damage is Tim Turd, or actually it's Kez. Now the question is, will Kez pit for his front aero damage? Well, Chompy goes in to get off the mediums, and Kez is in to get his damage repaired. But of course, as we mentioned before, he's on the softs at the start. So for him, there's a bit of, had he been on the mediums, it would have not been as much of a waste of a pit stop. Now we see Tim Turtle is pitting as well to get rid of his aero damage. Crash will of course come in because of his engine. Same deal with Rick, Robbo, and Robbo. Robbo 17 and 21.
All the while over the last half a lap, Millsy and Mitch had a fantastic battle, and now Millsy's just settled in behind Mitch, 5 tenths behind. But Disco still out in the lead by 7.5 tenths, but stretches it out to a second almost. But then Spanny comes back with a better exit as they enter the Miyabi section now. Disco, Spanny, and PJ all are 2.5 apart, absolutely. And then Mitch not too far behind still. He's going to be in the slipstream, so 1st through 5th will all be in the suck train.
Yes, they're covered by less than 3 seconds at the moment. So, particularly Millsy at the back, his job will be to not allow too much time to go. If he sees Mitch dropping too far off PJ, then he's got to make that pass.
This is great.
Yeah, now Matty P has got a gap close to 5 seconds behind Millsy. Then he's got another 5 seconds on Chompy, who then leads Kez by another 5 seconds, who of course is the first of the ones to pit. Having a quick look. Oh wow, Crash has got engine damage as well, so there's obviously been an incident out there too. And he's just been passed by Robbo Sport. So there's been another incident, and I'm just trying to see if it's against anyone or if it's just entirely self-inflicted at the moment.
As we see the top 5 all in a train, all in the slipstream. Disco from Spanny, from PJ, from Mitch, from Millsy. As they all hit turn 1, very fast left-hander. Almost flat.
Yeah, you got to manage that throttle through that turn 1, don't you?
And then flat all the way up the hill. So much downforce in these cars make that possible.
Millsy's made a bit of an error there. He's lost a second to Mitch at the moment, and But
Mitch is just showing his bumper up the inside of PJ. PJ had to leave the line there just in case, but then shuts the door as they hit the sector timer. Mitch is going to look down the inside, down the downhill heavy braking zone, but nothing doing there. PJ shuts the door. Millsy still a second behind, trying to lurk, close that gap.
yeah, so Spanny's got to watch that Disco doesn't get too far ahead. He has that nice gap against PJ, who's distracted by Mitch. So Span really needs to try and pull up to Benjamin's bumper.
He's going to make the move now. Shows his nose. Contact there as they hit the big sweeping left-hander. He had the pace to get it done. But
PJ
both
will not like
drivers
that if there was contact.
not quite optimal line for either of them. A little bit of oversteering from a fast entry from Mitch.
And you know what? Millsy has pulled right up on Mitch, and you can see
that's
the time that. Oh, that's the time. That's the amount of time you tend to lose when you're in a battle, and that's obviously played into Millsy's hands.
Certainly. So still the front five, all within 4 seconds.
They're all from the same lobby, aren't they? Too.
I believe so. That is your top split.
So you see the class come through there, that top lobby.
So still anybody's with strategy. So the top five, I believe they're all on softs. Can confirm?
Yes. Yes, they are. They're all on softs. And yeah, Spanny has obviously a 2-second gap on PJ. So, and he's pulled up a little bit on Disco. So, yeah, he's in a good place at the moment. And hopefully he's learnt from race 1 and he can make his tyre strategy work for him.
So we are now on board with Mad Mitch, chasing PJ up the hill through the flat sector 1.
Just going to point out, Robo21 is now on his mediums as well, so that's the third driver to tick off the mandatory compound.
Absolute edge
Crash,
of grip through there.
Crash has still got damage. I don't know, I've lost track of as to how many laps he's done on the damage. So I don't know if he's come in, got fixed and done more damage, or if he's just done 2 laps with engine damage. So I'm not quite sure what's happening there.
Massive gains under braking there from Mad Mitch as they enter the Miyabi sector. Following PJ. Tighter line there.
He's strung through those corners, isn't he, Dan?
Very much. Millsy still hanging off the back of these two. 9/10 behind Mad Mitch. Spanny 7/10 behind Disco.
So that's a question for Millsy, because he is gaining time on PJ and Mitch, but yeah, he wants if it was one or the other, I'm sure he'd probably want to do that pass, but because they're battling each other, he doesn't want to get caught up in someone else's accident, does he?
And so you see, every time he closes that gap, he just falls back that little bit because he just doesn't get the opportunity to make the move done, and then they hit a high-speed sector.
Yeah, you'd be hoping that they'd burn up their tyres a lot beforehand in this battle, but I can't see any real difference in the tyre wear. Obviously, the top two, again, they're really looking after those softs and making them last.
So Mitch is almost within range to pounce. So we're going to see him pounce by the end of the start, finish straight as they come round to complete lap number 4 of 21 of the Season 5 Group 2 Champions Final, the feature race. Medium tyres are compulsory, and the front 5 runners all on softs for their first stint. We've seen a big gap form now between second and third. 2 seconds between Spanny and PJ. Third, fourth and fifth. A second apart.
I think there's a real chance that Crash could get lapped here. He's not that far ahead of Benjamin and Spanny, so... And Benjamin and Spanny don't seem to be losing any pace, being in each other's company, so... yeah, we'll just have to hope that Crash is a pretty good operator. Although that said, he's not faced with blue flags normally too often, so this might be new territory for him.
So a little bit too far back to make the move on the entry to the Miyabi, but PJ does go wide, which invites Mitch back to the party. The third to fifth now within 7/10 on track.
It's great
Mitch
driving.
now
He's
looking
respectful, clean driving at the moment.
Absolutely, Mitch. The third through there, they're all yo-yoing up, and then missing their opportunity to get by, just down to the where they are in the circuit and having to ease back off. And then
Yeah,
when
it
the
seems
overtaking
Mitch seems
opportunities do arise, they're just that little bit too far back.
yeah, Mitch seems to kind of pull back PJ through these corners, but then PJ seems to have his measure through the straight. So it's nice even challenge here, and yeah, again Millsy's just got to watch him brief at the moment as Mitch locks up.
I missed the lockup because I went forward to Spanny, because Spanny
That's all right.
throws it
I
into
was
that chicane.
I was praising Mitch's cornering ability. He's now just gone off the end of corner. Maybe we should shout about his cornering ability, but yeah, he went sliding towards PJ, but managed to catch up. And looks like Millsy's putting a move on Mitch at the moment.
Goes around the outside. Well done. But
Well done,
Mitch is close enough now to come back at him. What are we going to see? Millsy covers the inside. He's going to look around the outside, look for the switchback maybe?
It looks like it.
Switchback's there, but he's on the outside line. Oh no, he's on the inside line. This is brilliant side-to-side racing as they go up the hill.
Contact.
Millsy just a little bit of a love tap there as they sort themselves back out.
Now, just looking at the front two tyres, Benjamin has greater wear than Spanny at the moment. So, and Spanny's 7/10 behind. So he'll be looking to capitalise on that good tyre management. But if Benjamin goes in, he needs to pit at the same time. He may have good management, but I don't think he's got another lap in him. He'll be wanting to pass him on the track rather than the pits.
Will 6 be will 6 be the magic number? Or 7 or 8? We did start to see tyres go at 7, didn't we?
Well, yeah, that and also it was convenient in that it was halfway in the race. I don't think they absolutely needed to pit at that point. It was more that it was you may as well make sure you got similar tyres for the second half of the race. So, yeah, based on some of their wears, I think they could have gone 8 or 9. That said, the new tyres really showed how good they were. So, I suppose who dares wins, I guess.
Spanny still 7, 8 tenths, 6 tenths, keeping that gap, maintaining that gap behind Disco. Third through fifth still closely following each other, a second apart from third to fifth.
I'm thinking Spanny should try and pit if he can at the end of this lap. Right now, if Benjamin doesn't. If not, definitely the next lap. Just especially if Benjamin stays out.
As they come around the final corner, do they both go into the pits? They both come in. What happens to the rest of the pack? PJ follows in, so does Millsy, so does Mitch. The front 5 all come into the pits. So fuel strategy. What are we going to see? What's the difference going to be? Who's going to be out for this? Disco.
There.
Disco out on tracks. Spanny. Someone's taking mediums as well.
Yeah, PJ did. Just noticing also the Benjamin managed to. He had 60% of fuel left. Spanny had 56. So Benjamin's actually saved a bit more fuel than Spanny. So this might bear out when they go to refuel later on.
So Millsy's come out right in front of Matty P. Matty P now in 6th position on track. Yet to pit, but giving Millsy something to think about. That might affect Millsy's pace. He throws it into the fast left-hander of Sector 2. So
he's got
varied strategies, varied levels of fuel put into the cars. Some drivers opting for the medium tyre. As we see PJ and Mitch battling through the entry of Mugabe. This is excellent racing. As Millsy starting to build that gap on Matty P, it's 1.2 seconds. Disco's got 2 seconds on Spanny. I'm not 100% sure what the strategy difference is between those two. I think Spanny came out on mediums, did he?
No, they're both on softs still. So
front 2 on softs.
Yeah, neither refueled. Mills is actually on mediums with Matty P behind him on worn softs. So that probably accounts for that speed difference. Besides, obviously, Mills being a top tier racer. But yeah, with Disco's really doing well on these brand new tyres, and yeah, I'm not sure what Spanny's going to do because I think Spanny hasn't been saving as much fuel as Benjamin, so I'm not quite sure where Spanny goes from here. Besides, obviously, an act of God or just an error from Benjamin at this stage,
Mitch
at this early
right
stage.
On the tail of PJ as he looks to make a move into the final turn. Nothing doing there, but he takes the inside line. He's going to look for a better exit and try and make the move on PJ by the end of the start-finish straight. He looks to the outside line early. Is he going to look inside or just follow him around? These drivers need to start making a decision now. Do they start to battle, or do they just work together and concentrate on catching the two lead cars?
I've just noticed something now at the moment that Millsy is actually he was slowly gaining on Mitch and PJ as they battle. Now PJ's on mediums, Mitch is on softs, and then Millsy's on mediums. Now Millsy actually also took some fuel there as well. So when they
Takes
do,
the
if
long
he can
line
pull up
around
the
for the
back of it,
cutback. They drive side by side. So as they come down the hill, they're going to hit the long downhill braking zone. Mitch is on the outside line, but he's already got the car length in front. Is he going to shut the door? He's got to go on wide and leave racing room, but he's got the inside line for the switchback now on the double hairpin. Mad Mitch gets the job done as they hit the flat sector at the bottom of Miyabi. PJ now slips back into his slipstream. Millsy 5 seconds off the lead on those medium tyres, really damaging his pace. As Disco 2.5 seconds.
He did take fuel though.
Also true.
Yeah, so later on, when with their next stop, Millsy's already taken a lot more fuel, so he should hopefully, if his strategy works out, have a shorter pit delta when he goes in for a second stop. But Disco is definitely putting in or holding that gap against Spanny.
Thinking about it now, what was it? 7 laps they did?
Yes, 6 or 7. 6, I think.
Interesting to see how long, whether we'll see a 2-stop or the 3-stop. Three long softs and a 1 lap on medium. Or whether we'll see
seeing the
mediums
time that
go push
PJ's
further.
losing to Mitch. Yeah, seeing the time that PJ's losing to Mitch and that Mills is really not gaining, I wouldn't want to be staying in the mediums any longer than I had to.
Then we may see 3-stop strategies creep into the fold.
Yeah. I have noticed the better the driver, the less difference between the mediums and the softs though.
And of course, being able to push that extra pace, that minimise that braking distance with braking techniques. As Chompy's come into the pits, so has Matty P. Matty P comes out on mediums, or was he getting off the mediums?
Yeah, he's on the mediums now.
No, he's on the mediums now. There we go.
Yeah. We've got Tim is in the pits
sector
as well. And he is refueling as well at the moment. Let's see what he comes out with. I'll stay with him. He comes out on fresh softs and he has completely refueled. So, based, because I can't see what their fuel consumption is going to be like. Obviously, they could do a full lap in 14. I'm just trying to work out how much is left to go. Was that 12? So, yeah, Tim looks like he's fueled towards to the end. So, all Tim needs to do is do his mediums, and he pushed that to 8 laps. So, he may only have to spend, 5 laps on mediums? Very worn tyres back down the pack as well, with Rick and Robbo probably needing to come and get new tyres, and Robbo 21 as well.
Really pushing those stint lengths early. Different strategies. And we see the
Now
race
Spanny's
come back
actually
to them.
gaining on Benjamin again, and Crash is being showed the blue flag as well as Benjamin gains on him.
Looks like they're going to hit Crashy somewhere in Sector 3 from the looks of it.
Yeah.
In the entry to Miyabi.
So Crash is on mediums as well. So there will be a massive speed differential there. Crashy won't last long, but he's a good driver and he'll be respectful of the leaders coming through.
So we're on board with Disco on his way up the northern sector of the circuit for the flat uphill, left, right, left. That's Crash in the distance. Blue flags waving shortly. Millsy pits, Matty P pits. Both get off their medium tyres. That means it's got to be a 3-stop for Millsy. He's not doing 11 laps on one set of tyres. 11, I think, is just too much.
It's that PJ's lost 4 seconds to Mitch, so those mediums are expensive. It is such a long lap and quite stressful on those medium tyres that you just lose time hand over fist. But Spanny's actually gaining on Disco. He's at 1.1 at the moment. As Disco potentially might be getting a little bit put off by Crash. Of course, the blue flag rules are that the car being shown the blue flag needs to find a time on a straight to allow him to pass.
Well,
And
Millsy's
that
right on the tail of Kez as they hit the flat Miyabi section as well. We've got blue flag overtaking going on and a chase for 5th and 6th. Millsy looks for the cutback around the big sweeper of Miyabi. It's not on, but hairpin turn coming up. He looks to the inside, gets alongside in the braking zone, brakes later, claims the apex.
Benjamin spun. Benjamin's off. He's off. Spanny has passed him. She got held up by Crash. I would have Crash held on longer than I would have thought, but Benjamin has picked up front aero, front right suspension damage, and he is pitting.
Oh, absolute drama. He's looking in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that changes everything. What's Spanny going to do in reaction? That gives Spanny a little bit of flexibility. PJ and PJ's pit as well. Disco's come out on the mediums.
Yes.
PJ's getting off the mediums?
Yeah, I would say so. He has to. And yeah, he's on the softs now, and he's refueled to about 55%, I would say.
So Disco on circuit now after pitting on mediums, 5 seconds behind Mitch.
That's it. I will say I wasn't watching Crash the whole way through. As we saw that Crash did have a bit of time, but yeah, for whatever reason, Disco wasn't past him, and yeah, he came through that final chicane before the final turn, and just lost it on the grass and spun.
But that like we mentioned earlier, that chicane is brutal. You hit it at such a pace, and it's such a violent shift of direction, puts massive load on your tyres. It just can spit you out sometimes.
Now, that battle between Kez and Millsy, Kez was on very worn softs with Millsy on fresh softs, and since then Kez has actually hopped on his mediums now.
Kez Audio down in 8th position. He's now on the medium tyres. Spanny is our current race leader, 6.6 ahead of Mad Mitch in 2nd place, who is 6 seconds ahead of Disco after his incident. PJ in 4th, Millsy in 5th, Chompy in 6th position. Moving down the field, EBM Matty P, he's in 7th, Kez in 8th position, Timmy Turtle in 9th, Rick Green driving for Reaper Raptors, the boss, in 10th position, RoboSport in 11th, Crashy now pitting, getting off of his medium tyres, putting him at the back of the field, and Robo21 looks to be either getting out of the way of a blue flag or serving a penalty, or both.
He was avoiding a blue flag. He's come back out with damage still, though, which is a little strange. I would have thought you'd take the opportunity to get any damage fixed. It is front aero, and of course any sort of aero damage on this track hurts a lot. I've got to say, I do feel for Benjamin Disco. It was his teammate who he needed to pass on the blue flag, and yeah, that's gutting. And yeah, I would love to see the replay to kind of see what happened there.
We'll definitely have a look at that later, but a lot of onus in this series, a lot of onus on the passing car. It still is obviously the responsibility of the car in the lead not to do anything drastic or silly, and to obviously let the car behind through. But I'd say probably 60%, 70% of the onus is on the passing car to show the intention. Once the intention has been shown at the right time, then I guess it's on the car being lapped to then go, alright, yeah, you've got me here, I'm not holding you up, go on.
Yeah, so the rule handbook does say that the car being shown the blue flag should maintain their regular racing line through each corner, and then seek out a place on a straight to allow them to pass. So obviously there's no expectation on the blue flag car to run wide, but yeah, that can mean though that um, it does require you kind of almost like lift off on the straight to let them pass. And these guys are all racers that they don't want to lift off, and it's very
Absolutely.
difficult when the red mist descends.
So Disco
We're going
13.3
we're going to see
seconds
Mitch pitting
behind
in a
Spanny.
moment. We're going to see Mitch pitting. Oh, he's still going. He must only have a lap of fuel left. I was looking at his fuel levels, and it's flashing red. So he's getting all he can out of those softs and out of that tank. He did come in at lap 6, and he's now going to lap 13, so he's got 7 laps out of this one.
As we're now watching Timmy Turtle, he's closed the gap on Kez Audio. 6/10 between those two, battling over 8th position at the moment. It's lap 12 of 21 in the Champions Final, the feature race for the Season 5 one-mate competition at Trailblazers Esports, brought to you by EBM Brakes Mechanical and Scorched Media.
You're going to love this. So Benjamin is coming through, gaining on Crash again. So, watch this space.
Something's happened there. What's happened there? That's Millsy getting past a lapped car. I just caught that on the minimap and was like, oh, someone's had a spin.
Oh, Matty's
Spinala. Matty P has a spinala on the exit of turn 1. Kez and Timmy Turtle now. Timmy Turtle. Outside line of the hairpin of the entry into Miyabi. Looks for the cutback. Kez sits it on the apex. Shuts the door. Nothing doing there. A little bit of contact potentially. We're going to have to check the damage. See if anybody picked up some aero. No, both cars are clean now as they fire through the very high speed section at the southern end of the track. The southern end of Miyabi. Flat left, flat right, and then a big sweeping left-hander.
The top 2 in the pits, coming to the pits at the moment. Span's in, and Mitch doesn't have, well, let's see what percentage fuel he's got. 1%, so he's playing that to a T. Of course, both cars will have to do a full tank of fuel. No, sorry, about 55% of fuel, I reckon. Oh, they've done a splash and dash, both of them.
So the gap's closed.
Sorry. Mitch has just done a slash and dash, so it looks like he's only going to do a single lap on the mediums. Spanny, however, has taken the aforementioned 55 to 60% of fuel on his mediums, so he's fueled to the end. If he's comfortable on those mediums, he doesn't have to take it back, but Mitch is so close behind him. Both on mediums. Mitch is in the lighter car, so yeah, this is an intriguing strategy. However, while it's a short pit delta, it's still 6 or 7 seconds, and Mitch will also have to gain fuel. So if he gets past Spanny, it's for a very limited time because he's going to have to come back in anyway.
May or may not have benefited from sitting right behind Spanny on this lap. The question there being, has he held him up or has he given him a toe?
We also only have 7 laps left, so if Mitch comes in, gets his fuel as well as the tyres, we're looking at 14, 15 seconds. So he's not simply, even on softs, he's not going to gain 2 seconds.
Very deep into that hairpin, almost contact with the rear end of Spanny. They fly back up the hill, trying straight line that chicane. Something else is going on. What's this? Timmy Turtle, he's picked up a penalty, unfortunately, somehow. Battling and chasing Kez Audio, still right behind Kez. So
now, of course,
back
if
to
you
the
do
other
pick up
battle
penalty in
they're
this
on.
series,
Mitch right behind Spanny now, 2/10 into the really awkward fast chicane. There we are. We'll see. You see how awkward the angles are there through there as they approach the final turn of lap 14. So we're expecting Mitch to pit this time. Disco's in.
Disco's in. Mitch is in.
And Mitch is in. Here we go. Disco and Mitch are going to come out right on top of each other with the fuel story as well. So Spanny's away. He's fueled to the end. It's just a question of, surely the gap's going to be big enough now. Surely.
Now I'm just
You
going to keep
never
an
know.
eye on Timmy Turtle because of course he did have that penalty, but it didn't
PJ's
actually
through.
burn off. It is a long circuit. So in this series, you are expected to still do a dummy burn, even if the penalty naturally burns off. So I'll be looking for a lift off or a tap of the brakes. Was it just half a second, Dan?
Half a second to a second. I'm not 100% sure. I just saw the tail end of the penalty as it was being served
Yeah, when I
accidentally.
switched to me, it was 0.1. So when I switched over, so here we go. He's lifted off and he's hit the brake. So that's good sportsmanship there by Tim. That's great to see. And Kez switches from his mediums to his softs, and can see Tim in the distance.
So
On very
Mitch came out.
Tim is on very worn softs at the moment.
Mitch came out much further down the road than Disco. Considering they were both in at very similar intervals.
It had similar fuel levels too, didn't they?
Mm.
I'm not quite sure what happened. Oh no, of course. Remember, Disco had 2.5 seconds on Spanny when he came in, so that would be looking what 4 seconds maybe. Yeah, about 4 seconds. He could also been held up by traffic too.
So lap 15 of 21. Spanny's now 7.5 in front. So PJ. What? PJ, is he on softs or mediums? He'd be on softs by now.
PJ. Yeah, he's on softs at the moment. They're a little worn. Looking at his lap times, I would say they are probably 4 laps old, coming to 5 laps as he comes around this corner.
Oh,
And
Spanny's
Spanny's
pit.
in the pit.
He's burning
Because
his mediums.
But he doesn't need fuel, remember? Or if he does, it's only a very light tinkle. But he's at 50% fuel.
Here he comes
He's
now.
only
He
got
comes
5 laps
out.
to go.
Is PJ going to get him?
Oh,
PJ goes
and he
around the
is.
outside, tries to find that apex, but Spanny keeps to the inside line up the hill. But now, all of a sudden, look who's behind. Look who's relevant, ladies and gentlemen. Disco only 1.6 off the tail of Spanny.
Now, of course, Spanny does have
PJ's right there.
Spanny does have those fresher tyres than Benjamin, so he'll be hoping to see out Benjamin's 4 or 5 laps.
And with PJ on his tail, he's got a lot to think about. They might be holding each other down a lot.
Too deep. Spanny's run wide.
Oh no! He's gone
Disco's
way
come
too
past
deep.
him. Oh.
Side by side into the Miyabi section. Spanny's got the inside line. Squeezes Disco out. Fair game as they hit the flat sector. PJ's getting away. PJ's cheering.
But I will point out, PJ Bovey has 2 laps of fuel left, and Spanny's driving around with his left indicator on, much like my grandfather.
So we believe Spanny and Disco are fuel to the end, and PJ doesn't have the distance in the tank.
He simply doesn't know, and he's also got the tyre wear as well. So PJ will be making another stop. I would have put money on it.
So this is the battle. The gap has been closed. Disco right behind Spanny. Battle for the championship. There's something going on behind as well. Mitch on the tail of Millsy. Front 4 battling in 2s. Disco and Spanny chasing PJ.
And I think Millsy has a pretty miserable front right tyre at the moment. Going through this chicane's not going to help. But Millsy may want to start thinking about staying off the curves to try and look after those tyres. But Mitch is behind him, but Millsy's losing tyres.
PJ has picked from the lead. That's it, absolutely. So Spanny reclaims the lead, and Disco only 8/10 behind with 5 laps to go. Fantastic. Closing the gap. We have a battle on our hands for the champion of champions of the Season 5 one-mate competition.
That battle for 3rd and 4th is really hotting up too. Can Millsy make it to the end with his tyres? I don't know.
He's going to look to the inside, looks to the outside line. Goes much deeper. Much deeper. Oh, we lost it there. Oh, fair game. He absolutely pushed everything he could out of that. Millsy's going to take the outside line into the chicane, into the hairpin on the entry to Miyabi.
if Millsy's going to pass Mitch again, it's going to be through a right-hander. He doesn't have the rubber on his right-hand side, so he's got rubber on his left. That's the only place I can see him really coming back at Mitch, bar an error, of course.
Still a long way to go in this race.
Such long laps, aren't they?
Hotting up.
Now, of course, who have we got? Where are we? Just trying to see. Robo21's being shown a blue flag. I'm just trying to work out who's behind him. It might actually be.
Focused on your leaders. 1 second the gap. Spanny starting to span. Jesus Christ. Damn it. I didn't mean that. Spanny building the gap. 1.1 seconds. As they hit the start finish straight to begin lap 18 of 21 of the final.
And Spanny's just set a fastest lap of the race with a 2:03.0. And he's putting close to a second into Benjamin Disco, and that he's basically done the overcut here in this final stint, and made those mediums count. And yeah, he's looking good, but of course he had a little moment before, and Benjamin's actually just putting in a purple sector at the moment.
Kez Audio right on the tail of Timmy Turtle.
Now, Timmy had to pass Robo21 before under blue flag, so Robbo seemed to get out of the way for Tim, but I don't think it was held up, so that's really good driving by Kez. Oh, but at the same time, I've just seen Tim's tyres, and I've never seen quite so much red. I think it's like his tyres are sponsored by the Communist Party, so yeah, he's struggling at the moment. So Kez will, I think, do a pass because there's four. They're in the fourth lap to go. So yeah, it's just Kez just pulling it for a clean pass as Tim runs wide.
Yeah, Joel's done, but they're still side by side now as they hit a long straight. I think retakes the position. Yeah, very good run.
It's these slow corners that are really going to hurt. Now, yeah, Chompy has a 9-second lead over Tim, so Kez will be hoping just to try and get past Tim and consolidate that position if he can. As Tim dishes the car nicely, and Kez has to go out the outside. He does, of course, have better rubber.
The outside, but he does have the inside line now. They're side by side. Gets the job done. Looking.
Question is whether Tim could pull it up in time, but he managed to do it and stay wide as well.
Oh, big save there.
I think Tim's going to come in and change that rubber. At the same time, he has a 30-second lead over Matty P. So, yeah, Tim could probably actually see out the race on this rubber. But, yeah, it's a question for him. If he pits, he's not going to gain on Kez, but yeah, the only way he's passing Kez, I think, is to give Kez has a massive moment.
So Disco now falling back 1.3, 1.4 seconds the gap, but Disco's on a purple, which means Spanny's pulling it out of the bag as well if he's building that gap.
This Spanny pulled out a 2:02.9 there, the fastest lap. He's loving this 2:02. He's got better tyre wear than Benjamin, and these guys, they are like top of the class, and really they are a credit to Trailblazers eSport.
So we're on board now in the cockpit cam with Disco. I know, throwing it around that long left, right to the edge of the circuit. And there's Spanny in his sights there, 1.6 seconds, losing that ground on the older tyres. A little bit of a moment.
I'm curious if PJ can catch Millsy. PJ is 4 seconds behind Millsy, but Millsy is on tyres that really they've seen better days, and yeah, it just takes a single mistake, as we saw for Paul Benjamin before. Millsy just needs to try and keep it together, but there's 3 laps to go. I wouldn't like to make it bet either way. I think Millsy probably will stay out if he can. I'm trying to remember did he run mediums? I can't remember.
Millsy's random. Yeah, he's random mediums. He did a short stop.
Cool. So he doesn't have to stop. He's got the fuel, but his tyres are screaming.
2 laps to go. 1.8 seconds to gap. Spanny with it all to lose, and Disco with everything to gain. Everything on the line.
Spanny's pulled out another fastest lap. I don't know if you saw that. 202.8. He is loving life at the moment. And I'm looking at Benjamin. He's done really good, consistent 203s all the way through. But just up against Spanny, he's able to pull out consecutive 202s. He's doing really well.
So with a lap and a half to go, let's flick through the field from front to back. Spanthouse in the lead from Benjamin Disco, 1.8 seconds the gap. Then Mad Mitch in third from Millsy. PJ Mack, who's taken another 8 tenths away from Millsy this lap so far. Chompy's in 6th position. Kez Audio, one of the kings of the mountain of Trailblazers, in 7th. Timmy Turtle takes a pit stop, comes out in 8th. EBM Matty P's in 9th. Rick Reen right behind him in 10th, RoboSport in 11th, Crash in 12th, and Robo21 in 13th place. Let's flick this little battle here between Rick and Matty P. Is Rick going to make a move into turn 1? Looks to the inside. The way is shut. It was made by those who are dead, and the dead keep it. The way is shut. Bonus points if you know what that's from. And then Rick Reen losing a little bit of ground on Matty P there. As we flick back forward through the field to see how the race is coming to a close. Disco still 1.8 behind as they come round the final turn for the penultimate time.
Quite low on fuel.
He's pushing it. He's pushing it.
He must just have just enough. That said, PJ Mack is 1.8 behind Millsy at the moment.
Oh my lord, look at that, yeah. He's absolutely closed that gap.
And Millsy's front right hates him at the moment. It is writing emo poetry at the moment. It is not loving life.
So the front two about a second and a half apart. PJ Mack trying to close the gap on Millsy. It's the final lap of the Season 5 Group 2 Champions race at Trailblazers Esports. PJ doing everything he can to close on Millsy. That's who we're on board with now. I'm going to quickly flick forward and check the front of the field again.
Oh,
Benjamin Disco and Spans. Matty P's had a moment. Oh, he's had a moment and thrown it. Oh, he probably had a disconnect. Unfortunate.
Yeah, he pulled over. He pulled over neatly and then had a disconnect. So, that said, it is a Champions race. There's no points up for grabs, so it's all just for the glory of the win.
So PJ now is a second behind. How long do we have on the front two? So it's 1.7 seconds the gap. Let's have a look at PJ chasing Millsy, see if he can close the gap on the final lap.
It's going to come down to that chicane, isn't it, Dan?
That chicane of this own circuit's chicane of death. Be a nightmare on bad tyres. 0.8 the gap. Entry to Miyabi, heavy braking zone, gaining. Here's PJ. All of a sudden, PJ is extremely relevant as they come into the final sector of the final lap. We're going to have to cut away from this in a moment to the leaders coming across, but we'll come back to it in a second.
1.7.
Right on his tail. They're going to hit the chicane. We're going to have to see the exit of that. We have to quickly flick forward, so Spanshouse takes the checkered flag. Spanny is the champion. Benjamin Disco in second. Mad Mitch in third. Millsy and PJ side by side around the final chicane. Who's going to get the better exit? PJ's got a better drive. And gets the job done from Millsy. Absolutely unreal. Unreal.
Choppy continues in 6th with 11 seconds currently over Kez. And then we see Tim, Rick, and Robbo, all with fairly big gaps. There's nothing kind of close. So unless someone has a massive moment,
Unreal racing at that end there. PJ got the job done. Absolutely on the edge of your seat racing. I'd love to see that overtake again. That was great. See quite what happened.
that was all came down to PJ's tyres against Millsy's. Once he drew alongside him and got to that final straight, there was only going to be one winner. Millsy just simply didn't have the rubber to put down.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Season 5 one-make champion of champions, Spanshouse, representing Road Sick Racing. Take a bow, sir. Beating some big names this evening out on the circuit. Disco with a unfortunate error, but set up a fantastic battle near the end of the race, but just couldn't close that gap. Plenty of battles all the way through the field. An absolutely fantastic exhibition into the community of Trailblazers racing. Fantastic examples of clean driving, excellent sportsmanship, and a great event. Fantastic season and a great event to top off the one-make season. So 2 more champions races taking place this week. I believe, what day is it today? Tuesday. So on Thursday we'll have the Group 4 Champions of Champions race. I'll be competing in that, so that's going to be awesome. So I won the middle split for Group 4. And then on Friday, the Group 3 Champions of Champions race, which I'm still yet to see the final table for that and who will and will not get involved. But if I'm not in that race, we'll be broadcasting it as well. But this has been fantastic, man. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for accompanying me in the commentary box.
Oh,
we definitely have to do this again sometime. Good night.
It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
That was so good.
Are you doing the T? Of course, TC isn't the Champions race, but maybe we can even do some. No, I can't do. The TC's been postponed or cancelled for the race finale, isn't it? So if you're able to get involved with the supporting Gnarly Dude, going through a tough time at the moment, I'd suggest that everyone donate if you're in a position to. I know it's been greatly appreciated, and he's been really touched by the donations.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic cause. It's a rally around Gnarly Dude. We're having a racing event this weekend, so stay tuned for all the details for that. We'll be broadcasting that on Trailblazers eSport Racing on YouTube, just like we have this evening. To be a brilliant event and a wonderful cause to rally around.
I was going to say, on trailblazeresport.com, if you go to the menu there and find special event, you can donate. And I think there's a minimum donation of $10. And like I said, they're going through a tough time, so please give if you're able to.
And so that will conclude our broadcast for this evening for the Season 5 Champions of Champions for the one make. Again, Spanshouse, your champion. Second on the podium, Benjamin Disco. And third, taking up the bronze, Mad Mitch. So fantastic driving all round. Fantastic involvement from all of the administration and all the race stewards, everyone from race control that put everything together for these seasons. Raptor especially, and Rick Reen, of course.
Absolutely, and to EBM and to Sports Media, of course. Their support without this this server couldn't happen, and they've really given a lot.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes things here this evening from me, from Phil, from you, from everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you on the next broadcast at trailblazersesports.com.
That's good. Bye.
How do end?